on a number of issues, including ethical leadership, public sector innovation, agile governance, and strategic thinking through foresight, anticipation, and scenario planning. We have 4 prominent panelists from Malaysia, Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, and Singapore. With a great honor, I am pleased to invite our distinguished panelists and moderator to the stage. This session will be moderated by Dr. Tresna Nadira Johar, Senior Training Consultant at the National Institute of Public Administration, or INTAN, Malaysia. She holds a PhD in Defense Management from the National Defense University of Malaysia and has served in key roles at the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Defense. Among her many achievements, she led the Offset and Economic Enhancement Program, managing industrial collaborations worth 25 billion ringgit, which significantly advanced Malaysia's defense and economic interests. We are honored to have her moderate today's discussion. On that note, Dr. Tresna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fazlina, for the kind introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, honorable panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin with why we are here in this very ballroom today. We are gathering at a remarkable moment. Around the world, public services are navigating challenges that would have seemed unimaginable just a few years ago. Challenges that are driven not just by one issue, but a convergence of several issues simultaneously. We have governments that are racing to integrate AI into their systems, but because they realize that it could deliver trillions in productivity value. But at the same time, studies undertaken by McKinsey and Forbes shows that 70 to 80% of digital transformation initiatives still fail. There's also the issue of cybersecurity threats that are multiplying even faster than our defenses can adapt. Other than that, we also have geopolitical instability worldwide that haunts us every single day now. And citizens' expectation is also another issue that we have to look at. They expect our government service delivery to be as intuitive as their favorite social media algorithm and as efficient as their banking apps, right? And nearer to the service matter, we also have the critical talent gap that is widening as our more experienced public servants are approaching retirement age. Hence, ladies and gentlemen, the question that is before us is fundamental. How do we lead our public services into the future through transformative collaboration and breakthrough policy innovation? And for me, this is not just an academic question, and it is not an easy question at that, because I don't think there is a specific answer for this particular question. But what I know for certain is that we are very honored and extremely privileged indeed to have with us 4 public sector leaders who have been dealing with these very challenges every day in very real ways, with very real responsibilities to very real citizens. So join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming our honorable panelists for this first session. So what I'll do is I'll share a little bit of their bio as I introduce each one of our honorable panelists this morning. So let us first and foremost give a big round of applause to welcome His Excellency Tan Sri Wan Ahmad Dahlan bin Haji Abdul Aziz, Director General of Public Service Malaysia. With over 3 decades of distinguished service, Tan Sri Wan Ahmad Dahlan is redefining what transformative and collaborative leadership means in the 21st century. One that does not just manage reform, but actually reimagines what public transformation can mean. And since taking office in 2024, Tan Sri has been leading various transformation initiatives in the public sector in Malaysia, and among others includes the most comprehensive public service remuneration system transformation, the groundbreaking SSPA in Malaysia that fundamentally reshapes how the Malaysian government rewards and motivates our 1.7 million civil servants. Aside from that, Tan Sri is also overseeing the Public Service Reformation Agenda, or ARPA, to ensure that the Malaysian civil service is always efficient, transparent, and responsive. And other than that, Tan Sri is also spearheading the National Digital Transformative Agenda for the civil service, positioning our Malaysian civil service to be not just ready for the fourth industrial revolution, but actually leading it. So what truly sets Tan Sri apart, however, is the Hemat principle that Tan Sri has introduced since taking office. Hemat reflects the 5 core values that drive Malaysian public service transformation at the moment. Tan Sri, your commitment to value-driven transformation is truly inspiring for me. It's an honor for me to be seated next to you this morning, Tan Sri. Welcome to this first session, and thank you for being with all of us this morning. Together with us this morning, too, ladies and gentlemen, if I may go through the alphabetical order, is His Excellency Mr. Awang Ajman bin Haji Maluddin, Permanent Secretary, Civil Service Governance, Prime Minister's Office, Brunei Darussalam. Please give a big round of applause to welcome Mr. Ajman. Mr. Ajman represents Brunei's visionary approach to building future-ready public service aligned with Wawasan Brunei 2035. As the Permanent Secretary since 2022 and as the former chair of the ASEAN Cooperation on Civil Service Matter ACCSM platform, Mr. Awang Ajman had championed the theme Strengthening ASEAN Public Sector Fit for the Future that had developed for public sectors across the region to not just be future ready, but always responsive to any emerging threats. And through various initiatives that are taking place in Brunei at the moment, Mr. Ajman is a driving force in creating a capable, agile, and ethical workforce that Wawasan Brunei 2035 envisions. Welcome, Mr. Awang Ajman, and thank you for being with all of us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, our next honorable panelist is His Excellency, Professor Dr. Zudan Arif Fakrullah, the Chairman of National Civil Service Agency Indonesia. Let us give a big round of applause to welcome Professor. Professor Zudan represents the extraordinary combination of academic excellence and transformational governance. Indonesia's youngest professor in the field of legal science at the age of 35. Once upon a time, still looking very young though. Professor Zudan has been instrumental in drafting major legislation and laws in Indonesia, including the regional government law and village law, among a few. So he now chairs the Indonesia's National Civil Service Agency with 3 key priorities, namely bureaucratic reform, meritocracy, and enhanced public service delivery. Professor Zudan also brings unprecedented experience in digital transformation across Indonesia's vast archipelago of 17,000 islands, having revolutionized the country's civil registration system during his tenure as the DG of Population and Civil Registration, earning him and his teams multiple national and international awards for policy innovation. Welcome, Prof, and thank you for joining us this morning. I'm saving the best for the last. The lady, the only lady among the thorns, ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together to welcome our final panelist for this session, Her Excellency Ms. Tan Gee Kiao, Permanent Secretary of the Public Service Division, Prime Minister's Office, Singapore. So Ms. Tan brings over 2 decades of transformational leadership across Singapore's most critical ministries, from the Environment and Water Resources Ministry to the Culture, Community and Youth Ministry. And now, as the Permanent Secretary of the Public Service Division. She is one of the chief architects of Singapore's systematic approach to building a future-ready public service for the country. Her intellectual journey tells such an inspiring story from LSE to Cambridge and then to Stanford. Ms. Tan doesn't just accumulate knowledge, she systematically applies them to reimagine how government can create more coordinated approach to service delivery. So welcome and thank you, Ms. Tan, for being with us this morning. So please give another big and long applause for all our distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to listening to the presentations awaiting us, allow me to take some little time to just set the context for today's discussion, right? So when we talk about leading public service into the future, we, using collaboration and policy innovation, we could debate definitions all morning long. So let me cut straight to what it is not, right? So that will be a little bit more crystal clear on the topic. So it is not collaboration if it just means more meetings and more consensus building, but to actually slow down decision making and create organizational bureaucratic paralysis, because real collaboration means empowering people to lead transformation and to drive transformation. And it is not policy innovation if it creates impressive sounding governance frameworks and models, but one that never really gets to scale to real impact, right? Because through policy innovation, they reach the people who need them the most, right? And it is not future ready if it abandons proven governance principles, because constitutional democracy, the rule of law, public accountability, these are not outdated concepts. These are the foundation that make innovation trustworthy, right? And it is certainly not about moving fast and breaking things, because, putting speed matters more than wisdom, because leading into the future require wisdom and speed and innovation and integrity. So for me, leading the public service into the future, at least from where I stand, means mastering three interconnected capabilities. First, collaboration as empowerment, working together, but creating, not just about working together, but creating a system where public servants, civil, citizens, and the regional partners have genuine agency to co-create solutions together when facing problems. And then it's about policy that scale, not just some isolated projects, but systematic approaches that turn breakthrough that into sustainable framework that could be applied throughout governments. And finally, inclusive implementation, because policy innovation means nothing if it does not reach the people who need them the most, as I mentioned previously. So ladies and gentlemen, over the next hour, we will listen, learn, and discover four distinct, yet I'm very sure complementary approaches to collaboration and policy innovation. And each honorable panelist will share their insights for 15 minutes. And to help us maintain our schedule and to be on time, panelists will be guided by the timer in front of the stage. And our timekeeper will also provide gentle reminder at the 10th minute mark to ensure that panelists will have sufficient time to begin wrapping up. And at the 15th mark, another signal will be given to indicate that time's complete. So given the depth of the content that are going to be shared today, we will then proceed directly to my concluding remarks, right? So with that foundation, I would like to invite Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Wan Ahmad Dahlan to start the ball rolling, Tan Sri, for the presentation session. The floor is yours, Tan Sri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and welcome to Malaysia. First of all, I would like to thank to the moderator, Dr. Trishna Nadira Johar, Senior Training Consultant, National Institute of Public Administration, Intan, Malaysia. His Excellency Mr. Awan Ajman, His Excellency Professor Dr. Zaudan Arif Fakrullah, Her Excellency Ms. Tang Gi Kiao from Singapore. Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah. Peace and blessing be upon the great Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and all his companions. I'm grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because with his abundant grace and love, we were given the opportunity to gather in this ASEAN conference on future-ready public service with the theme of inclusivity and sustainability. This morning, I am pleased to start this first plenary session to share about the aspirational approach of leadership in making reform within the public service successful. Ladies and gentlemen, currently the world is witnessing the occurrence of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity of VUCA situation. For example, the rising of geopolitical tension among countries, the rise of living costs and climate change. These challenges call for excellent leadership to navigate the situation safely. For Malaysia, the Prime Minister has envisioned a new framework called the Madani Framework. This framework is an integrated and holistic approach supported with future-oriented policies to create a civilized, advanced, and skilled Malaysia society. Under the Madani Framework, the initiatives are divided into 5 segments. There are economy and international trade, social development, security, sovereignty, and diplomatic relations segment, infrastructure, and institutional and public service reform. Under economy and international trade segment, Malaysia has been aggressively attracting foreign investment through official visit, trade and investment mission to several countries for the last year. Alhamdulillah, the initiative have gained significant success, such as digital investment worth 185 billion ringgit with more than 64,000 of new job opportunity from giant companies such as Google, Microsoft, AWS, and Oracle. To overcome the rise of living costs, we initiate the cash payout for underprivileged citizens amounting to 10 billion ringgit. Basic contribution for all adult citizens, introducing progressive salary scheme, increasing minimum wage, and expanding the sale of essential goods at lower price, which locally known as Jualan Rahmah. The second segment, which is social development, focusing on the well-being of the people, social justice, and community empowerment. The initiative include upgrading villages, cash aid to fishermen, developing vocational entrepreneurs, planted 100 million trees, providing health aid to older land settlers, cash aid for entrance to university students, and financing women entrepreneurs. The third segment is security, sovereignty, and diplomatic relations. National security is the pillar of peace, stability, prosperity, and well-being of a country. Malaysia government has taken effort to strengthen national security, such as introducing a new citizenship legislation, assuming ASEAN chairmanship, creating temporary placement for underage migrants, and distributing humanitarian aid to Laos, Philippines, Palestine, Turkey, and Syria. The fourth segment is the infrastructure. Infrastructure development is the backbone of economic growth, social well-being, and regional connectivity. Infrastructure initiatives include building new roads connecting places in Sabah, Sarawak, and East Malaysia, building 5G connection throughout the countries, introducing the National Energy Transition Roadmap towards zero carbon emission, allocating maintenance of public low-cost housing, and upgrading public facilities in government-aided schools. And the fifth segment is public service reform. Under the leadership of Chief Secretary of the State, the public service reform known as Agenda Reformasi Perkhidmatan Awam, or ARPA, literally meaning Public Service Reformation Agenda. It is a strategic framework introduced to transform the Malaysian public sector to be more efficient, transparent, and responsive. The success of public service reform can be seen in 5 areas. There are namely appreciations of value and governance, human capital development, organizational development, service delivery, and empowering public and private synergy. Among the initiatives are rationalizing and reorganizing government agencies, revising public service remuneration, reskilling public servants, and introducing public service efficiency bill to expedite reform effort. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, under the first area of civil service reform, namely appreciation of value and governance, there lies a need of guidance of shared good values and principles to face the current challenges. As such, I would like to share the initiative to instill good values of public servant, namely Hemat, derived from the Malay acronym of Hijrah Tata Kelola, Empati Rakyat, Minda Pekin, Apresiasi Inovasi, and Tulus Takbiran. Each alphabet represents the value intended to be polished among the public servant as seen on the screen. Since its campaign started on February 2024, Hemat has inspired public servants across Malaysia to participate in reforming the public delivery. Therefore, the initiative is made public through the Hemat dashboard. Subsequently, 3 guidance principles have been made along with value of public servant Hemat to endure significant changes in improving the public service. The first principle is public service need to facilitate. To facilitate means that we need to facilitate matters involving stakeholders and customers. We have seen a government statement bogged down by legacy processes, bureaucracy, and budget constraints. This should not be let to be happen further to hinder public revolt, as what had happened in few countries across the globe. Next is being accommodative, which means public servants need to adjust their working method to realize nation aspirations and agenda. This principle can be achieved by listening to the wishes of the people, thus improving the delivery of public services. The diversity of more than 700 million people in ASEAN, there are a wide range of needs and each with different expectations. As such, being accommodative, public service should set to be inclusive, regardless of social, economic, or cultural background. The last principle is public service need to accelerate. Accelerate here means public servants need to expedite the implementation of the government decision so that the initiative we carry out can arrive quickly and be felt by the people. To accelerate, the public service need to embrace technology. In this digital world, where technology grows swiftly, public service has no other choice than to adopt and adapt. Nevertheless, being technological advanced does not mean we should be heartless. A faster public service support economic growth by enabling quicker access to essential services like permits, licenses, or grants that businesses and individuals rely on, which also contribute to alleviate economic pressure. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before I end this sharing, I would like to express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to all parties involved in making this event a success, especially to event secretariat, collaborators, and sponsors who have worked hard to ensure the success of this event. My hope is that all the participants will become the agent of change in respective country by providing the best services to the people. With high spirit and continuous commitment, I am sure that we can all elevate the dignity of our beloved ASEAN public service to be more competitive on the global globe. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Tan Sri, for the insightful presentation on Hemat and Malaysia's value-driven transformation. What stands out from Tan Sri's presentation is how Hemat values are creating transformation at such an extraordinary scale through the facilitate, accommodate, and accelerate philosophy. With that, Mr. Awang Ajman, we now turn to Brunei Darussalam experience. Could you please share with us how Brunei is preparing your public sector to not just be ready for today's challenges, but also for Wasan 2035 vision of tomorrow? Please take it away, Mr. Awang Ajman. Thank you.
Thank you. I think first and foremost, hopefully I can stay within the 15 time limit. So if I go beyond, I'm just imagining it's not there. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And warm greetings to all. I think I'm truly honored to be among such distinguished company today. Our moderator and esteemed speakers, excellencies from host country Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. I think whose leadership continues to shape the future of public service across ASEAN. So I guess on behalf of Brunei Darussalam, I'm truly humbled to join this conference and united by a shared commitment to collaboration, innovation, and service to our people. This theme, leading public service into the future, collaboration and policy innovation and leadership, is both timely and vital. Our region stands at the intersection of rapid technological transformation, evolving citizen expectation, and the imperative for agile governance. So in Brunei Darussalam, public service carries with it a profound responsibility to serve with integrity, uphold national values, and ensure that our policies and services meet the needs of citizens in an increasingly complex and interconnected world. So the way we lead, collaborate, and innovate will determine whether we remain relevant, resilient, and trusted by the people we serve. Next slide. So my presentation today will cover into these three specific areas: collaboration, innovation, and people development, our civil service development. So in collaboration, our public service today is no longer confined to traditional bureaucratic silos. So across ASEAN, citizens expect services that are digital, inclusive, transparent, and citizen-centric. So Brunei Darussalam, through our national vision, Wawasan Brunei 2035, aspires to cultivate a highly educated and skilled workforce achieve high quality of life that is among the top nations, and foster a dynamic and sustainable economy. So in order to achieve this, collaboration is a mentioned key. So we will continue to leverage on platforms such as the SCCSM, ASEAN Cooperation on Civil Service Matters, the Public Service Training Institutes, PSTI, in which Brunei Darussalam is currently the convener to deepen regional and international partnerships. So collaboration must also extend beyond government to include academia, private sector, and civil society, a true whole-of-nation and whole-of-ASEAN approach. Next. In terms of innovation, Brunei Darussalam has launched several strategic programs to foster innovation. Firstly, the Council for Research and Advancement of Technology and Science, the name CREATE, collaboration with local universities and academia. So this supports the development of growth of science, technology, and innovation activities in Brunei Darussalam, driving economic and social development. Second is the higher learning institution collaborations. So these collaborations, joint collaboration on research and development, whereby students can establish proof of concept before it can be upgraded to fully fledged projects, which get recognized through innovation awards, namely the Brunei ICT Award, BICTA, and the Crown Prince Chipta Award. Third is the Brunei Innovation Lab. This is an avenue for entrepreneurs to develop, test, and bring into Brunei market new technologies that can benefit the public sector. Fourth, the Health Innovation Lab, or HIL, which delivers impactful innovation with the ability to address Brunei's health transformation goals effectively, further supporting local technopreneurs and startups in developing medtech. Next is the Premier Innovation Award, or AIP. This is in conjunction with our annual Civil Service Day. So this is an avenue to encourage innovative development in the public sector. So whereby AIP focuses on rewarding achievements in productivity and service delivery improvements. Next slide. When it comes to policy innovation, which is truly the backbone of future-ready public service, so Brunei Darussalam is advancing this through, firstly, the economic blueprint of Brunei Darussalam, in which one of the key aspirations of good governance and public service excellence is to ensure a conducive business environment. So by promoting governance and service excellence. Notable initiatives recently being launched is the Procure.pn, launched by Ministry of Finance and Economy, which serves as a centralized procurement platform aimed at enhancing transparency, efficiency, and ease of access in government procurement processes. Next is Digital Economy Master Plan 2025, which drives innovation through cross-collaboration. The third point is governance and regulations, where the Public Service Department, or PSD, is moving towards becoming a regulatory and policy-driven agency, setting standards while empowering ministries and agencies to innovate in delivery. Recently, Brunei Darussalam has decentralized and empowered ministries to exercise greater control over their recruitment processes. Next is to institutionalize structured public sector leadership development programs. Through this program, such as Civil Service Leadership Pipeline, we have managed to develop around about 2.5% of our officers level and above in all ministries. Complementing this, leadership programs such as the Young Executive Programs, Middle and Senior Executive Programs, and bilateral and trilateral exchange initiatives are also preparing the next generation for public service leaders. Next is the Integrated HR System for Civil Service, or Sistem Sumber Manusia SSM, which is a comprehensive digital platform implemented across ministries to support various HR functions, including payroll, performance, career development, succession planning, and workforce analytics. This streamlines HR processes while promoting digital literacy among civil servants. So in parallel, continuous investments in system, investments in digital skills and talent development, empower data-driven decision-making, modernize HR operations, and strengthen digital capacity across the public sector. On well-being and resilience, I think it was mentioned by our keynote speaker and by our Secretary General of ASEAN. So at the last Heads of ASEAN meeting hosted in Brunei Darussalam last year, the ASEAN Statement on Strengthening Government Strategies on Mental Health and Well-being towards Achieving Work-Life Balance Public Sector was finalized under Brunei Darussalam Chairmanship. So this initiative recognizes the strength of our civil service lies not only in its policies, but also in the well-being of its people. So it aligns with our Ministry of Health Action Plan, one of whose key outcomes is the development of mental health guideline in the workplace. Next slide. On future of public service, I think looking ahead, we believe that civil servants must possess at least, among others, three core qualities. Firstly, agility to respond swiftly to crisis and disruptions. Secondly, accountability to ensure governance that is transparent, fair, and ethical. Thirdly, anticipation through the use of strategic foresights and data analytics through strategic planning. Next slide. In Brunei context, the positioning of HR, human resource, is closely aligned with our national development goals. The quality of our workforce directly influences how effective policies are implemented and how effective services are delivered to the public. Brunei Vision 2035 outlines an ambitious national direction, the success of which relies heavily on a public service that's capable, agile, and grounded in strong ethical values. The public service is the nation's engines of growth, and we believe strategic HR plays a pivotal role in driving and sustaining this progress. Our role is to ensure the right people are placed in the right positions, equipped with the right skills, and deployed at the right time. This is essential not only for operational effectiveness, but also for strengthening public confidence in the civil service. So looking ahead, workforce planning in the civil service is expected to become increasingly skill-based, moving beyond traditional job roles or position titles. With tools such as artificial intelligence, our tasks will become more efficient, enabling us to better map transferable skills, identify emerging capability gaps, and recommend career mobility pathways across ministries. The Public Service Competency Development Framework, or PSCDF in short, which we are currently rolling out, will support this effort by helping HR managers align the workforce based on competency data. In this context, I'm pleased to share that Brunei Darussalam is also actively preparing for AI readiness, as reflected in the rising demand for ICT-related training modules among the civil servants, which increased by 81%, alongside a 45% rise in participation in the year 2024 and 2025. Next slide. So with access to workforce data, analytics, and now AI, we are better positioned to provide insights that enable leadership to make informed and timely decisions. The recently implemented centralized HR system, SSM, has been instrumental in supporting this effort, allowing us to identify gaps, forecast talent needs, and enhance workforce productivity. At the same time, strong policy direction and committed leadership remain essential, and leaders set the tone and provide the clarity needed to move forward with confidence. Next slide. On performance monitoring and accountability, we are also monitoring progress through key indicators, such as workforce capability development, speed and consistency in service delivery, and the satisfaction levels among both employees and citizens. Through Management Service Department, MSD Brunei Darussalam, we have introduced the public sector performance grading assessment through star ratings, or we call it 3 PSA. an instrument designed to measure the performance and the achievements of government agencies. It also serves as a recognition mechanism, granting star ratings to government agencies that demonstrate excellence. So this initiative is expected to positively influence overall performance, productivity, and quality of public service delivery. From the Prime Minister's Office perspective, one particularly exciting area is the application of AI for policy intelligence. Through Public Service Department, we are collaborating with higher learning institutions to develop an AI-assisted policy tool for the HR policymakers across the government. So this project aims to create an AI-enabled platform that helps policymakers identify complex issues faster and accurately, strengthening data-driven governance and strategic decision-making. Next slide. On talent management and capabilities, we are also placing greater emphasis on developing specialized capabilities in areas such as data governance, cybersecurity, and evidence-based HR policy development. These priorities will form a key focus of our upcoming PSD Strategic Plan 2026-2030, which is expected to be launched next year. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in summary, our focus has been aligning long-term system improvements with the practical demands of daily operations, requiring careful planning and thoughtful implementation to ensure sustainable transformation. Ultimately, building a future ready is an ongoing journey grounded in continuous learning and adaptability. That will end my presentation. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Mr. Awang Ajman, for that comprehensive overview of Brunei's approach to building future-ready ecosystem towards public service excellence. Professor Zudan, we now look forward to hearing Indonesia's perspective. I always wonder, how does Indonesia ensure that any transformation and talent management system and digital infrastructure reach all civil servants across thousands of islands in Indonesia? If you could share with us your wisdom this morning, Prof, please take it away, Prof. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Moderator Dr. Nadira. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Excellencies, fellow panelists from Malaysia, His Excellency Tan Sri Wan Ahmad Dahlan bin Haji Abdul Aziz. Tan Sri, thank you. Panelists from Brunei Darussalam, His Excellency Mr. Awang Ajman bin Haji Meludin. And from Singapore, His Excellency Ms. Tan Ki Kiew. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to be invited to this special meeting. This is my first time attending an ACCSM event and also my first experience as chairman of NCSA in regional program. I would like to extend my congratulations to Malaysia on its chairmanship of ASEAN this year, and thanks the Public Service Department of Malaysia for hosting this crucial ASEAN conference on future-ready public services. We appreciate the warm welcome and look forward to the insightful discussion ahead. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, I will discuss how NCSA can lead public service toward a future-ready state that faces challenges with collaboration, policy innovation, and visionary leadership. Next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia is unique and big country, number 4 big country in the world, with approximately 2,084 million people, comprises with 38 provinces and 114 cities, district, and major, and more than 1,340 ethnic groups, over 7,000 living languages, and Indonesia has 48 ministries. This is very big country. Next slide. And how the civil servant services the people and service the country. As 1 September, the total number of civil servant ASN Indonesia more than 5.3 million. The figure consists of 68% permanent civil and 32 employees with work agreement. Of the total of ASN, 77% in the local government, services in the local government, and 23% employee in the central government level, services in the central government. Regarding gender distribution, 57 of ASN are female and 43 are male. In terms of generation representation, 57 belong to the generation Y, 30% Gen X, and the remainder are from Gen Z and baby boomers. This characteristic presents unique challenges and opportunities in managing civil service workforce and ensuring effective, efficient public service delivery. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, how exactly can civil servants play strategic roles in advancing national reform in Indonesia? As you can see on the screen, next slide. On the left are the national priorities from our President, Pak Prabowo Subianto, we call Asta Cita. In the middle lies the civil service as the engine driving bureaucracy, bureaucratic machine. ASN is bureaucratic machine in Indonesia, and how we, NCSA, as the game changer in the right. Ladies and gentlemen, I will emphasize on Asta Cita number 7, where NCSA plays significant roles. Under Asta Cita number 7, NCSA developed a talent management system to identify and nurture top ASN talent within government agencies, thereby enhancing institutional performance. Weekly virtual competency sessions and innovative platforms such as coaching, mentoring, and self-learning. NCSA commitment to continuous ASN development. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, NCSA have a visionary leadership for public service toward by embracing strong partnership across government agencies to foster a culture of shared commitment to achieve excellent public services. Next slide. Our policy innovation, driven by this visionary leadership, have transformed digital personnel management, streamlining processes, enhancing interoperability, and adopting advanced technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain. As the game changer, NCSA are advancing public sector innovation through the digitalization of personnel management. Digitalization is more than just computerizing processes with application. It's a transformative approach to service delivery. Our robust data platform, a cornerstone of our digital transformation, efficiently support key functions such as recruitment, payroll, and workforce management, with 24/7 accessibility through a national digital portal. Our services are now both more accessible and responsive, ensuring the efficiency of our operation. On the technology front, we actively adopt advanced tools such as artificial intelligence to accelerate service delivery. This is not a solitary effort, but a collaborative one. We work closely with organizations like National Development Planning Agency, the National Research and Innovation Agency, and the Geospatial Information Agency to develop AI power services that enhance process. Ladies and gentlemen, currently all 47 personal service products have been fully digitized with a single integrated national data platform. Now in NCSA, we use one data, one platform we call ASN Digital. We uphold strict service level agreement. As a visionary leadership, we have 8 new policies. One of policies we uphold strict service level agreement, guaranteeing processing times ranging from 1 until 5 days, and service automation through the use of artificial intelligence, thereby ensuring both efficiency, effective, and transparency. Ladies and gentlemen, to guarantee the delivery of high-quality services, we consistently apply the plan, do, check cycle. This process begins with identifying critical challenges, exploring effective solutions, and implementing them efficiently, while managing resources effectively and rigorously monitoring performance. Yet, this is only the starting point. All these policy innovations have been achieved due to visionary leadership cultivated among agencies in Indonesia, united by a shared commitment to serve the public well. Next slide. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my presentation by highlighting the OECD's recommendation on public service leadership and capability. As we draw to a close, it's essential to remember that the OECD emphasizes the crucial role of a values-driven culture and leadership in the public sector. Define values, capable leadership, inclusive and safe and proactive and innovative employee. And the second, it emphasizes placing skilled and effective public servant in key roles and implementing employment systems that are both responsive and adaptive to changing needs. Right skill and competence, attractive employer, merit-based, learning culture, and performance-oriented. And also system stewardship, strategic approach, mobile and adaptive, appropriate term and condition, and employee voice. Ladies and gentlemen, before I dismiss my presentation, I would also like to welcome your representative who will be joining us over the next 2 weeks for the workshop on implementation of meritocratic principle through talent management in Jakarta. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Zudan, for those invaluable insights on leadership and capability development across Indonesia's very diverse landscape, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Tan, it is now your turn as a final speaker of this session. Ms. Tan, we have listened to interesting perspectives throughout the whole morning so far, and at this juncture, I'm also interested to know how does Singapore achieve strategic coherence in government service delivery that Singapore is well known for. With that, please take away, Ms. Tan. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Tresna. Good morning, everyone, my esteemed friends and colleagues from ASEAN. Before I dive into my presentation, I just want to send my appreciation to Malaysia for chairing ASEAN and for driving ASEAN towards our collaborations and solutions in this world of very, very disruptive situations. And I also want to thank Tan Sri Wan Ahmad Dahlan and your JPA team for convening us over this very important topic on a future-ready public service. I thank you for sharing the insights, my colleagues from Malaysia, Brunei, as well as Indonesia. It's very hard to follow up from them, but I hope that a female voice will keep you awake over the next 15 minutes. I want to just reflect on what Dr. Tresna said when you were introducing this panel, and that it was very important for us to be prepared for the future, and we can have many strategies as well as many principles, governance frameworks, but it's very important that we're able to execute that well. So I want to just share Singapore's experience of not just what we do, but maybe a little peek and insight into how we do this as well. Can I have the next slide, please? This sets the context of our public service workforce. We have a very small workforce compared to Malaysia and Indonesia, as what Dr. Zudan shared just now. We have 150,000 public offices, as well as you can see, 16 ministries, 65 state boards, as well as 10 organs of state. And in the broader context of the Singapore workforce, we are the largest employer, largest single employer, representing 6% of our resident labor force. Next slide. We've spoken already a lot about the external challenges, as I've articulated on the left-hand side of this slide, and I won't belabor the point, other than to point out that we have very, very similar challenges. On the right-hand side of the slide, I've shared a little bit about our internal domestic challenges in Singapore. As you know, Singapore is an aging society, and we are facing many constraints. We have low total fertility rate, our population is super aging, and therefore our resident labor force is actually growing at near 0% growth. Along with that, we have rising citizen expectations, as many of us here today are facing in our own countries as well. Singapore's education is increasingly, or rather the population is increasingly educated, and they do demand more from the public service. It's not a bad thing. I think it challenges us to raise our standards as well. But coupled together with our demographic challenges, it really does come to bear that our fiscal constraints, as well as our manpower constraints, are more biting. So as what our special keynote speaker said just now, we have to do more with less. Next slide, please. So to prepare for a future-ready public service, we are taking some of these strategies, the ones that you see right here, and I'll share with you a little bit more in detail on each of them. But broadly, the first one is about alignment, ensuring that our strategy across the whole of public service is coherent and aligned. We talk about developing our leaders so that they can execute well on those strategies. And finally, developing our people so that we can create a competent workforce who not can just execute well, but who are also feeling cared for and inspired and motivated to serve the people. I'll deal with each of these in turn. Next slide. First is on coherence and strategy. Next slide, please. Now we hold in terms of the whole of government, we have a strategic planning effort that provides us the impetus for change as well as ensure that we have a clear unity of action. And this allows us to first set the ambition and collective direction for the whole of the public service and allows us to plan not just for now, but also for the long term. We then ensure alignment across the service so that we can drive strategy development and coordination on cross-cutting issues. Increasingly, the problems that we face are complex. They don't belong to just one ministry, and therefore we need to mobilize our ministries to come together and sometimes ask certain agencies to sub-optimize so that the whole of public service can optimize on the solution. And then we enable action by establishing the systems and the structures that translate our priorities into action and outcomes. We do this by ensuring that the resourcing is appropriate, so whether it is the people, the money, or the technology, that they are allocated well and to that priority. And we also ensure that from a systems governance point of view, we are always looking at capability development, and where there are new capabilities, that we are able to resource that and get that built up. Next, in the next slide, I'll show a schematic of our strategic planning process. So first, number one, we bring in our strategic foresight team, and we have them challenge our assumptions as well as our plans as we are thinking about our plans for the future. Then under the strategy box, you can see that our Prime Minister's office drives the agenda setting together with the agencies, and we iterate with our political leadership because they too have to endorse these plans. We then translate the strategies into action plans, including assigning accountability to different agencies to drive the different work streams. And then we look at resourcing and capability building for delivery capacity. Again, this is about who do we give the people money, the technology, and increasingly the data to. Finally, we monitor the progress because we know that now to be an agile government, you cannot plan for a long time and make sure things are perfect before we launch, but we just have to move with speed, try out, experiment, and then be able and be prepared to adjust. So we monitor these progress outcomes, and we call this part of the work that we do progress assurance. Next slide. I want to share in this as an example of how we bring the agencies together to deliver on a whole of government priority. In this case, it is service delivery. And Service SG is our effort to integrate government to citizen services across agency. And we hold a strong citizen-centric lens in doing so. If I can start on the right-hand side of the slide, it introduces the work that Service SG does. We have 9 integrated public service centers that deliver over 600 services across more than 26 agencies. They also are building up a call center, again, to integrate hotlines as well as email questions and answers. And then finally, we are also building out, and we have already a digital concierge that we keep improving. And this is where we bundle services for our citizens according to what we call their moments of life. It could be when they first have a child, when they are buying a house, or maybe even doing their own legacy planning, as well as after-death services. And behind all this is a backbone that is a technology backbone that combines these 3 blocks to provide an omni-channel service to our citizens. So that's the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, I show you how some of the agencies across the public service are mobilized to support this central priority. So first, Public Service Division, where I'm from, what we do is because we are in charge of public service reform, and we hold accountable our agencies to having a citizen-centric lens, we have Service SG as one of our departments and drive that citizen-centric lens and mobilize agencies from the center. The Ministry of Finance, of course, gives money. So they bring their incentive levers to the table to get agencies to come together and do this work as one. But they also assess performance and make sure that they get back the cost savings. The Ministry of Digital Development is the one that brings in the technology expertise, and they build out the technology backbone. And finally, the multiple agencies who do conduct transactions with our citizens are asked to come together to redesign their citizen-facing processes so that Service SG is able to then integrate them and provide those services as one. Service SG is one of the initiatives that we have always consistently put resources towards, and there are positive outcomes. We have high satisfaction rates of over 90%. We do have cost savings, and we are able to actually improve the citizens' experience by reducing the time taken to deliver on any particular transaction. Next slide. Besides Service SG, as I've shared with you how agencies come together to support that effort, we have other efforts as well that we use the same methods as well as means. We have municipal services that we integrate under one service, family services that are also integrated under Comlink Plus, and we are integrating business services as well under Go Business. Working as one public service is one important way in which we prepare our public service to be future ready, because problems do not respect boundaries, and it requires leaders and officers to have a one public service mindset. So I'll move on quickly to the second thrust that we have, which is about cultivating effective leaders. Can I have the next slide and then maybe move on one? Next one, please. So this is a brief snapshot of the leadership in the public service, 300 senior public service leaders. These are permanent secretaries, deputy secretaries, as well as CEOs of our stat boards. And we have another 1,600 who are in the pipeline to be built up and developed as the future public service leaders. Next slide, please. These articulate our outcomes of a public service leader that is efficient and effective. Next slide, please. So under high-performing leadership, again, I don't think that our approaches are very fundamentally different from yours, but we hope that we are able to execute as well as effectively manage our leadership pipeline in our context. So we focus on their development in a very strong way, and what we have done is to build up a corpus, a body of leadership science, and we use that leadership science as an evidence-based data way to drive excellence in our leadership. We have developed a leadership competency framework that makes it very clear to all leaders what is demanded of them as good leaders. And we run 360s regularly. And we take all this data to use to develop our leaders individually, but also our leaders as teams. And these data actually provide us a greater insight into how we can work with the agency teams to deliver on their business outcomes, and also to have an understanding of where we may still, as a bench strength, have areas of development that we may need to work on. Now, third, we ask our leaders to develop other leaders and grow our timber together. Next slide, please. Now, this slide is about diversity. I think diversity, I don't know whether it's a bad word still, maybe in other quarters of the world, but I think we all appreciate here that diversity of experiences is important for us to have a robust and resilient public service because of the range of complex issues that we have to deal with. So we try to facilitate movement across the public and the public and private sectors. In one of the earlier slides, I shared that we have about 20% of our leaders who have actually external experience, and we think we can do more, and we will actively facilitate doing so. We also create more pathways for leaders to be groomed, and also for leaders to enter the leadership pipelines. We don't want to miss out on talent along the way. Now, we also make sure that we exit leaders who may not be performing as well. So we have not just entry points along the different pathways, but we also have exit points. And I spoke about team leadership just now. Next slide. Now, this next slide is about our Leaders Building Leaders framework, because we think that it is a leadership responsibility. So at the individual level, and at the leader-to-leader level, and at the community supporting other leaders level, we have various interventions that you can see on the slide. Next slide. Now, this is our third thrust. I talked about our strategic planning process as well as our leadership development, and now this is about developing a competent workforce. Next slide, please. So we've developed a competency growth framework in which we drive the skilling and the reskilling of our officers. In this disruptive world, I think it's important that our officers are adaptable, and we have a way in which we try to support them, as well as have an objective marker in having conversations with them to develop their careers, as well as to discuss their performance. So it's a common language, it facilitates mobility across the public service, and it is objective. The next slide will show you what are some of the examples that we have put in place in order to drive mobility. Can I have the next slide, please? So to keep our officers current in their skills and motivated and always willing to adapt, we will broaden the development opportunities. As you can see here, a range of programs that officers can participate in, as well as officers can enjoy in order to grow their own skills. And this is my last slide because I'm already out of time. But as it turns out, it really is my last slide. And I thought that it's important for us all to be able to appreciate that many of the things the different countries do will have to be contextualized and adapted by each of us. But the fact that we're able to come here today, thank you to Malaysia for our hosts, means that it is an opportunity to learn from each other and then to have discussions and further collaborations for the areas in which you think may apply to you the best. So as part of my Singapore delegation, I do welcome any expressions of interest to cooperate, find out more, as well as to collaborate on various issues in order for us as an ASEAN to be able to build a strong as well as future-ready public services to support our various countries to navigate these turbulent times together. And I'm sure and confident that we can do so well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tan, for those valuable insights into Singapore's systematic innovation. Distinguished guests, we have heard our 4 presentations this morning, and now allow me to offer some concluding and closing reflections. So as we conclude this session, I find myself reflecting on what we have just witnessed. It's not just about 4 presentations, but actually a masterclass in how visionary leadership actually transforms governance itself. Our distinguished panelists have shared their national success stories, but it's not just that. Together, they have revealed a comprehensive blueprint for all of us on how we can lead our public sector into the future. And from Malaysia, Tan Sri showed us that transformation happens when we embed values into our organizational DNA. The Hemat values, transformational governance, empathy for people, prudent mindset, innovation, appreciation, and transparent administration have created measurable change through the facilitate, accommodate, and accelerate philosophy. And these are not just mere slogans that are being tracked on dashboards for show. These are actually the elements that are guiding 1.7 million civil servants to work differently, to think differently, and to serve differently. And this value-based transformation, aligned with the Madani and ARPA aspirations, demonstrate that when public servants believe in shared principles, reform accelerates exponentially. And then from Brunei, Mr. Ajman revealed how Wawasan 2035's vision translates into concrete action to building a public service that is agile, accountable, and anticipatory. And through various initiatives that are taking place in Brunei Darussalam, AI-driven workforce planning, civil service leadership pipelines, developing over 1,000 officers, integrated HR system. For example, Brunei demonstrate how the whole of nation approach combining government, academia, and the private sector creates a capable workforce that national vision requires. And what distinguishes Brunei's way also is the systematic use of data and technology, not just for technology's sake. I think it's for the service to ensure that it gets the right people in the right position with the right skill at the right time to serve Brunei's future. And then from Indonesia, I have to refer also to what I've written. Professor Zudan demonstrated that leadership capability development must be both systematic and inclusive at scale, because through structured talent management using performance potential assessments, Indonesia ensures merit-based advancements across its 5.3 million civil servants. And the supporting infrastructure is important as well when he highlighted the ASN digital platforms that integrates everything from workforce planning to competency development and business process reforms that dramatically reduce bureaucratic stages in public service delivery. And combine that with coaching, mentoring, and self-learning through the plan, do, and check methodology. Indonesia actually demonstrates that developing capable leaders across thousands of islands requires disciplined implementation and not just good intentions. And finally, from Singapore, Ms. Tan had just demonstrated to us how strategic coherence turns fragmented efforts into integrated excellence. Through the Singapore's whole of government planning that connects national priorities to coordinated action, Singapore ensures different agencies, they could work cohesively as one service delivery, one unit. She exemplified that with Service SG that integrated over 600 services from 27 ministries, right, Ms. Tan? With a good citizen satisfaction rating over that saves over 200 million Singapore dollar annually. And what distinguishes Singapore's approach also is the Leaders Building Leaders initiative that creates leadership communities where mentorship and collective purpose complement formal systems. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we have just witnessed showcases ASEAN's extraordinary competitive advantage, diverse approaches to shared challenges, creating complementary strength. Malaysia provides the value-driven empowerment philosophy. Brunei provides the anticipatory, data-driven workforce planning framework. Indonesia provides the inclusive leadership development model, and Singapore provides the systematic integration methodology. And these approaches, they do not compete, they complete each other. And this is regional collaboration at its finest. Not convergence toward uniformity, but synergy through diversity. And if there is one thing that, one insight that could capture today's session is this: the future of public service isn't about predicting what's coming, but it is about building adaptive capacity to ensure that we all could serve excellently regardless of what may come towards us. And that capacity is built on values, on leadership development and capability, and on systematic integration, not just systems alone. So with that, Tan Sri Wan Ahmad Dahlan, Mr. Awang Ajman, Professor Zudan Arifakrullah, and Ms. Tan, thank you so much for sharing not just your success stories, but also honest reflection on the continuous learning that defines actually effective leadership. And you've given us proof that future-ready public service isn't just a distant aspiration, it is actually happening across our beloved ASEAN region at the moment. For that, please give a big round of applause to all of them, our honorable panelists, and to everyone in the audience. Your presence and attention honor both our speakers and the work that we all do every day. And this shows how collective learning takes place when we listen deeply, when diverse experiences illuminate possibilities, and when we could bring back all these insights and adapt them back into our own context and in our own organization. Right? So with that, I urge everybody to let's continue building the ASEAN future together. Thank you for an outstanding session. Thank you for your commitment in excellence in public service, and thank you for your dedication to serving our citizens and our region. I shall close this session with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera.
Thank you, Dr. Tresna, Excellencies, distinguished guests and delegates. Please join me to give a big round of applause to our esteemed speakers and moderator for their insightful contributions. As we will be taking a short coffee break for about 30 to 40 minutes, may I now invite our speakers, moderator, and all the delegates to the refreshment area at the foyer in front of this hall.